Hey guys, this is Oleg Vorslav. I hope you know who he is. I think he's an amazing athlete, and he, as you can see from all these clips here, is incredibly good at using his arms to overcome physical obstacles. Most of this video is him swinging on things. In fact, most of the footage that there is him swinging on things. But what I'd really like to focus on instead is what he's not as good at, which is jumping. There aren't that many clips of him jumping because, like most athletes, people want to present the best version of themselves, so they tend to only include the skills that they are most proficient at. And although Oleg is by no means bad at jumping, he does not do it very much, which is usually a pretty good indication of lack of comfort or lack of proficiency. So I'm going to get into a bit more detail, but first I'd just like you as the viewer to see if you can start to really use your eye that hopefully you've been building to have a look about what looks wrong with this jump. And there's lots of things going on in a jump. There's technically pretty complicated movement, but usually whatever grabs your eye most, whatever kind of draws your attention, whatever engages you is the thing that is worth focusing on. And I think that's a really useful thing to notice both in your own movement when you're watching and then other people's. And once you sort of catch on to what it is that's really caught your attention, to investigate it further, both through further anatomical research, but also through just looking at it more and more and more and seeing if you can start to understand what it is that doesn't look quite right about that movement that you're seeing. So for illustration purposes, I'm going to play another jump now, and this is of a professional NFL athlete. And I think he is very, very good at jumping because it's his job to be good at jumping. And see if you can have a look at what this looks like. The quality of this jump feels very different. It looks very different, but it also feels very different. And the thing that I'm going to talk about, I guess, or draw your attention to, is just the angle of his chest in relation to the ground. So we're looking at this line here, his chest versus ground, chest versus ground. So just paying attention to the angle over the course of this jump. And now back to Oleg. And you can really see there's a big difference in the angle that is being produced in these jumps as the athletes are traveling through the air. And if you're to break down, I guess, anatomically why that is, the joint that we'd have to really start looking at is the hip joint, because that is the joint that is really impacting the angle the most. And when I say the hip joint, I mean the joint that is opening and closing here. So this jointo here, it's really the joint, which is the pelvis, which is at the bottom of the spine here. There's the torso with a long spine and the pelvis that sits down here, and then the legs that join into that pelvis. And that's the hip joint. Do a little bit of your own anatomical research. It'll really help to get kind of a conceptual framework, or to better understand what it is you're looking at, so you can start to really start to apply that into your own training through physical awareness. But what he's doing, this athlete is doing, is very different to what this athlete is doing. And it really doesn't just change the quality of the jump and the power of the jump, but it also changes the way the athletes are forced to load, especially as they come into the landing. You can really see in the same way that he has used, has or hasn't used his hip joint so much to load, when he comes in for his landing, he doesn't really do much in that joint either. So you can really see like the shape that he's making through here, and what's going on in terms of where the load is going and where it feels like the load is going when he's coming into land. And you can really see the difference in that, because both of these athletes are jumping about as far as they can, and the difference in the feeling of where the load is coming in this athlete, and how it is impacted by the angle that their chest got to, and the way that they approach the entire jump. I think none of these things exist in isolation, and we can see here again. This is Dylan Baker doing a jump. And his is in many ways similar to the professional athletes, because I guess he is a professional jumper basically too. And looking at that chest angle and really seeing what it gets to, and how it's quite similar to, or just similar. You're the one who's doing the looking, not me, obviously. So what does your chest angle do when you jump? Lots of fun things to notice. And there is a lot more that goes into jumping, a lot more. But this is just one thing to pay attention to, both in terms of looking at, and if you can start to feel what's happening in your own jump and see where you're generating all of your power from. Where's moving, where's not moving. And how are you getting the jump that you are getting? So this is just another quick fun thing. We're going to have a look at some strides here from Oleg's, and sort of seeing what they feel like, and rather than going into any specifics, really just having a look at what it feels like when he's striding, and then what Dylan Baker looks like and feels like when he's striding. On this playthrough, I'd like you to pay particular attention to Oleg Vorslav's right knee, or even right leg in general as he takes these steps across here. So really seeing the right leg, what's happening at the foot, what's happening at the ankle, what's happening at the knee. What does that feel like as you're watching it? Right leg, right knee, right leg, right knee, right foot. I would strongly suspect after watching this video that Oleg Vorslav is a really big candidate for debilitating knee pain, and I would not be surprised if that were the case. Here is another clip of him landing a jump. Let's play this in slow motion, looking at the right knee. Looking at the right knee, what it's doing, how it's absorbing the impact as he's coming in. And the direction that the knee is tracking, so the direction that the knee is traveling as it comes in. Is it going out? Is it going straight ahead? Is it going inwards? And if it is going inwards, where isn't loading? And where is taking the brunt of the force that's coming in? Because something's got to take the force. Something's got to take the force. The force is there. You've jumped, and something's got to absorb it, versus something like this. Where is the loading going? Where is the force being distributed? Because force that goes unchecked is, it can cause problems. Where's this force going? DB, Dylan Baker. And having a look at Dylan striding and seeing if we can see where the load is going, where that force is going, and whether or not it's being controlled, distributed evenly, if it's being taken in strong places or weak places. And spoiler alert, unlike Oleg's videos, Dylan's videos are maybe 90% jumping and 10% swinging, whereas it's about the exact opposite ratio for Oleg. And that usually gives an indication of what an athlete likes doing. And that's usually indicative of what it is they're good at doing. So have a look at your own training, have a look at your own moving, have a feel what it feels good to do, because odds are if something feels pretty good, you know how to do it pretty well. And if something feels not so great, you tend not to want to do it as much. And having a look at what it looks like and what it feels like when you're doing that, and really seeing, like, for instance, in Oleg's example, he knows, consciously or not, that this doesn't feel great when he's running, it doesn't feel great when he's striding and when he's jumping, and sort of having a look at your own movement and seeing what you can see. Hope you guys have fun. It's good talking to you this week. Peace out.